So this is section A in test 1. The curriculum for this course is divided up into 8 tests, 8 units, these are called tests, and in every unit there are different sections. So this is section A, test 1, the first section of the curriculum. So in algebra, what we come across the most is numbers and letters. Numbers and letters, what we come across, what we deal with in this Algebra 1 course, Common Core. So first we'll start with the numbers here on the left. Numbers are used to count different things, obviously. You have 5 calculators, you have 10 phones, 20 pencils, things like that. So now numbers, in Algebra 1 Common Core New York State region, there are 4 types of numbers that a student should know for the region. There are the types, but it's not included in this course. So we have 4 different types. We have whole numbers, integers, rational numbers, and irrational numbers. First, we have whole numbers. Whole numbers are 0 and anything above 0, all positive numbers, including 0 as well. But it does not have any fractional components, which means it is not 1.1 would not be a whole number. It cannot have a number after the decimal point. So it has to be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, so on until infinity. But there's no number after the decimal point. That is called a whole number. Right? That is what is called a whole number right there. Now we have integers. Integers are whole numbers, but they include negative numbers as well. Again, integers, like whole numbers, do not have a fractional component. They do not have any numbers after the decimal point. There is no negative 1.3333. There is no 0.75. There's no numbers after the decimal. The numbers after the decimal is 1.0. They don't have any numbers after the decimal, so they're called an integer. Negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, negative 5, until infinity. So integers are all 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all positive until infinity, and then negative 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way until infinity, but no fractional components on numbers after the decimal point. And again, whole numbers, all whole numbers are also integers as well. As you see over here, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 are also included as integers. Now we move on to rational numbers, rational and irrational. So first we have rational. Rational numbers will have a fractional component, which means they have numbers after the decimal point. However, in order to be a rational number, the numbers either stop. The numbers after the decimal either stop. So for instance, we have some examples over here, 1.35, 1.56, 3.0, 9.7. These are all numbers after the decimal point stop, or they go on and on and on forever in a repeating pattern. So 0.333333, that's going to be a rational number. You see 4, 5, 4, 5, 4, 5. It's going to be a rational number, 7.666. If the number either repeats, goes on forever in a repeating pattern, or if the number after the decimal stops, it's going to be called a rational number. Now, rational numbers are numbers that could be written as a fraction. A fraction has a numerator on top over here and a denominator, a number on the bottom. So rational numbers are numbers that can be written as a fraction with an integer on top and an integer on the bottom of the fraction, as we see over here. These numbers over here, they could be written as a decimal, like negative 4.25. But if you turn them into you could turn them into a fraction. So for instance, like 0.50 could be turned into a fraction with an integer on top, the number 1, integer on the bottom, number 2. Right, 1/2, 1/2 is the same thing as 0.50. So if the number after the decimal stops, that number can be turned into a fraction. Or if the number goes on and on and on, a repeating pattern, that could also be turned into a fraction. 0.3333 could be turned into 1/3. Also, all integers are going to be rational numbers as well, as we see over here, the number 1, because it could be written as 1/1, right? Any number could be written over 1, and 1 is an integer. So therefore, all integers are therefore rational numbers. Now we have irrational numbers, and they're going to be the opposite of rational numbers. Irrational numbers, the numbers after the decimal go on and on and on forever in a non-repeating pattern. So you see the numbers after the decimal do not stop. They go on forever in a non-repeating pattern. So there's no pattern to these numbers afterwards. Therefore, they're called an irrational number. And unlike a rational number, irrational numbers cannot be written as a fraction with an integer on top and an integer on the bottom. So irrational numbers cannot be written as fractions. So like the number pi is 3.14, and then you have the numbers going on and on in a non-repeating pattern forever. Those are the 4 types of numbers known for Algebra 1 course. And now all these numbers are called real numbers. Real numbers basically means any number, including irrational numbers. So they're all real numbers. In Algebra 2, in like 11th grade, you'll see how we'll have non-real numbers, but it's not for this course right now, but they all fall into the category of real numbers. So here we have in the worksheet, section A, we have next to the question number, write if it is a whole number or an integer, right? Whole numbers are integers, so that's A. Right, if it's only an integer, that means it's not a whole number. Or C, that it's neither, meaning that it's going to be rational or irrational, and it's not going to be an integer or a whole number. So for instance, number 1, 50, 50 is going to be A. So that's a whole number, and whole numbers are integers. So therefore, the answer is A. B is -7, negative. Negative numbers are not whole numbers. Whole numbers are only positive numbers without a fractional component. -7 will therefore be an integer. -7 is B. 3, 0, 0 is going to be A, which is a whole number, and whole numbers are integers, so therefore the answer is A. 1.59, you see it has a number after the decimal point. It's a fractional component, therefore it's not going to be A or B. It will not be an integer. Therefore the answer will be C. -2.22, same thing. It's going to be C as well. 10 is going to be a whole number and an integer, so it's A, and B, and then over here, this is going to be C because they have numbers after the decimal point. And here are the answers over here. You can pause the screen to look at it, but it's also in the answer sheet. The next part of this is next to the question number, right? If it is a rational number or a irrational number, so it's A or B. So -32. -32, remember, to be a rational number, it could have the numbers after the decimal point either stop, so like 1.115, it stops, or it goes on and on and on, a repeating pattern like 0.333333. Also, all integers are also rational numbers because they could be written as a fraction with an integer on top, -32, and the number 1 on the bottom. So -32, that's going to be rational. It's going to be A. 1/5, rational numbers again, could be written as a fraction. They all could be written as fractions with an integer on top and an integer on the bottom. 1/5 is going to be A as well. 43 says there's no pattern to the numbers after the decimal point that goes on forever in a non-repeating pattern. So therefore, the answer will be B. It's going to be irrational. Those are the answers over here. If you want to look at it, you can pause the screen. And that is the end of section A.